Yes, good morning and good afternoon, everyone, depending on where you're joining us from, and welcome to today's webinar. My name is Peter Ture from Business Review, and I'll be your host today. It is our pleasure to have with us Donaldson Filtration, who will be presenting us a topic titled Water Filtration for Sensitive Applications. So now, today's guest speakers of us will be Scott Grimes, who is the Technical Training Manager. We also have Dominic Mikel, who is the Application Specialist. Now, I'd like to welcome everyone here to On24. You'll notice that this platform is browser-based, so if you do disconnect for any reason, please just click on the link that you received via email to rejoin the session. We also have the help widget, so if you have any questions, please just type them into the box at the top right-hand corner of your screen and click submit. We'll then allocate some time at the end of the session to address any thoughts or questions that you may have. Please also use the yellow help widget in terms of if you need any assistance to move, resize, and maximize the screen to help you get a better view of today's webinar. But for now, please allow me to hand you over to our first speaker of the day. Scott, over to you.
Thank you, Peter. From the East Coast of the United States, I wish you good morning, or perhaps good afternoon, or even good evening. Welcome to Donaldson's webinar on water filtration for sensitive applications. Thank you to all that have taken time out of your busy schedules. We trust that all are well and safe during this most unusual time. Before we get into the specifics of applications, products, I would like to give you a little background on the Donaldson Company. Donaldson was founded in 1915. Since that time, we have grown to have 14,000 employees servicing customers on a global platform through our 46 manufacturing plants. You will see in a couple seconds that we are very diversified in our markets. What I most appreciate about Donaldson is that 3 to 4% of our annual revenue goes towards research and development, all for the sole purpose of advancing filtration for a cleaner world. As you can see by this illustration, Donaldson's innovation in the field of filtration places us in almost every industry imaginable, providing filtration solutions for some of the world's largest complex machines to the smallest, most sensitive devices. The food and beverage industry is no different. Donaldson is helping to protect your product and maintain integrity in your process. So in conclusion, Donaldson is a technology-led filtration company. We value strong customer relationships that have stood the test of time, including a pandemic. Diversified portfolio complete with solutions for compressed air, including drying systems, steam, and of course, water filtration. Globally manufactured, but yet delivered through local channels. From the humble beginnings of elder down soaked in oil, making the first air intake filter for an internal combustion engine, to our class-leading PTFE membrane for microelectronics and life sciences. Innovation is a cornerstone of Donaldson's philosophy, and we never rest on our past. To talk a little bit more about Donaldson and process filtration, I'd like to introduce you to my colleague, Dominic Mikel.
Yeah, thank you, Scott, and welcome everybody also from my side. So I hope you're all safe and well, and I'm very glad you made it to our webinar of today. And today we want to talk about water filtration for sensitive applications. And as you know, this can be a very wide and big topic. So we want to focus on microfiltration, including sterile filtration in detail, and in choosing the right filtration steps for you. And you know, sterile filtration via microfiltration is a main part of process filtration. And with our Donaldson LiveTech portfolio that you can here see on our slide, we fully concentrate on process filtration. So the products are designed to help you protect your liquids, your gases, and also your steam that is being used in your process from all sorts of contaminations that might happen during production. And we have our LifeTech value propositions up here right at the beginning of our presentation, because those are also the key points that are most relevant for our topic of today. Our LifeTech portfolio concentrates on the value propositions strength, performance, and availability. Strength, because in most processes, there is the need for a robust filter that can handle all those static and dynamic conditions and that can withstand high mechanical and thermal stress. So for example, if you think about high absolute or high differential pressures in your installations, but also pressure shocks that might occur. Performance, because your process needs high throughput and high flow, while still your installations need to be able to retain low pressure drops. And those low pressure drops, they allow for very small and cost-efficient solutions. And last but not least, availability, because there's the need for short delivery times for a large amount of variety of filter combinations on the market. And that's why Donaldson produces its LifeTech range module-based. And we have large distribution centers with most items almost being constantly on stock. So let's dive into our topic of today. Most of the world's water is being used in agriculture or electricity or industry, such as food and beverage or pharmaceutical. And today we want to focus on those more sensitive applications that can especially be found in the food and beverage industry, in the pharmaceutical industry, but also in other industries like cosmetics, for example. And the water in those sensitive industries can usually be classified into three types of water, into three categories: process water, ingredient water, and the water as a product itself. Process water is defined as water that comes indirectly into contact with your final product. So if you think about cleaning water, for example, water used for rinsing bottles, water used for cleaning steps during your CIP procedures, water used for steam generation or cooling steps. Ingredient water, on the other hand, is water that really comes into direct contact with your product and can even become part of your final product. So hence, it can become an ingredient. And finally, we have water as the product itself. So if you think about drinking water, mineral water, spring water, or purified water. And after looking at those three classifications here, we want to know a little bit about your needs. And we actually have our first poll question here. So, Peter, could you please go ahead?
Sure. Thank you very much for that, Dominic. So, ladies and gentlemen, we have our first poll question of the day, which is, what type of water applications are you most interested in? So, just as Dominic mentioned, we have three categories: process water, ingredient water, and water as a product. So, Dominic, please tell me more about what's the difference between processed water and ingredient water, because some people probably today in the audience can argue that ingredient water can be part of a process towards making something.
Yes, that's correct. The main difference is that usually every water is processed water first, and then it can be treated to become ingredient water, for example. And the main difference is also this allowable contact with your final end product.
No problem. Okay, thank you for that. All right, let's check over so far what the audience has answered in this case. So as we can see here, though, processed water is particularly what most people are interested in, though, with, in this case, water as a product being the next highest. So that should be very engaging right now about how people use water in terms of whatever industry that they're engaged in. So I'll, in this case, return back over to the presentation for it to continue.
Thank you, Peter. So that was a really very equally spread result. So let's talk about what kind of water qualities we need for each of these water classifications here. Because there are several levels of water qualities that can be achieved via filtration, and it's all depending on what the water shall be used for, and also on the upstream and downstream treatment steps, and on the water quality itself as a raw product. Sometimes we just need pre-filtration of municipal water or spring water to remove sediment, to remove particles, so those suspended solids in the water. And if we look more into this ingredient water treatment, initial bacterial reduction is one of the main goals of microfiltration, which can already reduce via pre-filtration a vast majority of microorganisms that might be present in your water. And lastly, for some ingredient waters, and of course for mineral water or purified water, there is the need for final sterile filtration or critical filtration using sterile graded membranes. And those sterile graded membranes, they are here to completely remove all those hazardous microorganisms from our end product. So as you can see, there are many levels of water filtration, and we don't always need to go all the way through, but rather we need to adjust our filtration steps to your needs and to your process. Because besides from removing the contaminations, sustainability plays also a big role here. And Scott will now lead us into this topic.
Thank you, Dominic. Sustainability is and always has been an important topic. We have come up with 3 key topics as it pertains to water usage in the manufacturing process. Intelligence. Water usage in the area of conservation is an example of this. Reduce water usage. How? Look for ways to reduce your water, but still stay within the confines of your application. Reusing water will require some form of treatment, and microfiltration plays a role in this by providing a mechanism to reduce suspended solids. An example here would be reclaiming your CIP fluids. Safety. Yes, safety. Providing protection. Process systems such as heating and cooling systems will also benefit from a reduction of suspended solids, especially with heat exchangers. I've had the pleasure, or should I say the displeasure, of having to take apart a plate and frame heat exchanger. It's very laborious and time consuming. There's safety in product. Microfiltration plays a direct role in helping to protect product quality. Microbiological safety. Using liquid membrane filter technology to produce purified water, such as pasteurized equivalent water, which is an ever-increasing popular method to save on energy expenses. And at the end of this, you must continuously evaluate your system. Trend analysis, utilizing water chemistry and suspended solids testing through laboratory processes to validate your system and to make sure you're meeting your quality and food safety goals. We have an example of wonderful case study here. In the terms of sustainability, Donaldson's client, Thatcher Cider, has always aimed high. The company continuously succeeds in saving energy and natural resources. During one of their most recent projects, management looked for new applications for the well water that is sourced from their on-site borehole. The project scope evolved to install reliable, highly effective, and at the same time, cost-efficient purification, which makes it possible to use the well water for the cleaning of their machines and equipment within the plant. Multi-stage filtration was used to achieve the project's goal. 2 industrial housings with back-flushable stainless steel filter elements integrated to an automated backflush mechanism with clean water. The final stage uses a different filtration technology and different cartridge material in a parallel installation. Donaldson Life Tech Solutions worked seamlessly with this project. Specifically, our nominally rated ppn with very low pore diameter in the submicron range. In this case, it was actually down to 0.4 microns. The well water can be used now for cleaning processes in the plant. The resource of drinkable water is therefore saved, and the backflush capability of the pre-filters keep the purification costs at a low level. Now over to Dominic to review more on microbiological safety.
Thank you, Scott. So I think that application example showed perfectly that we don't always need to have those sharpest sterile filtration. We don't have to have those to go all the way through with our filtration. And it's often sufficient to go the most sustainable and energy efficient way. But as soon as water comes into direct contact with our actual product, or is even the product itself, we automatically need a higher quality of water. So depending on these applications, it's often critical that the water does not contain any more microorganisms. And those microorganisms, they can enter the water from different sources. So they can either be already in the well, they can already be in the piping, and they can also enter your product through non-sterile vented storage tanks. So they can either be already part of the water, or they can enter from the environment. And also those microorganisms, they exist in a great variety. So they might reduce, for example, the shelf life of your product, or change certain attributes of your end product, like color or the turbidity of the water. And of course, they can be hazardous to your health. And before we go a little bit into more detail about sterile filtration, we do have another poll question here that helps us understand a little how you are already addressing this microbiological topic in your production. So please, Peter.
Sure. Thank you for that, Dominic. So, ladies and gentlemen, our second poll question of the day is, what is your main method for microbial safety in your facility's water system? So we have the options: microfiltration, thermal treatment, UV disinfection, chemical disinfection, not addressing microbial safety, and other. So please, in this case, choose which option would be. Based on what you said, though, Dominic, though, I'm intrigued to know, though, so what will be the quality control, you could say, procedures in terms of filtering the best water to ensure that it's high quality to be used?
Well, you can do lab analysis to analyze the quality of your water. And if it comes to microorganisms, you usually go for a microbiological lab, where you can do regular microbiological analysis of your water to be sure that there are no more microorganisms or none over the limit.
Mm-hmm. Of course, that's great, because in this case, I understand how not many, you could say, consumers, in this case, acknowledge, you could say, the kind of rigor that it takes for you to get clean water just to produce products or even to even drink it in this case.
Perfect, yeah. Right.
Yep, so let's see what the answers are from the audience. So, looks like most people here mainly use microfiltration, so that's the most popular answer according to the audience. And second in that will be chemical disinfection, which is definitely a procedure that will be used most likely for even food production and, in this case, water usage. So I'll now pass over back to you guys to continue on the presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. So since most of you are already using microfiltration, let's look at how this sterile filtration can now really be realized in a typical production. So sterile filtrations, as you can see in our skid example here, are usually multiple step filtrations. And they depend heavily on the pre-treatment and the water quality. So how many pre-treatment steps are there influence how many pre-filtration steps I need before going to my membrane. So on this slide, you can see three-step filtration, and usually we always start with a coarse pre-filter. And this coarse pre-filter removes sediment particles, pipe debris, etc. And as a second step, it is always recommended to install a depth filter with an absolute retention rate. An absolute retention rate means that it is defined for a certain retention rate, for example, 99.98% of retaining what it is actually rated for. So a 1 micron absolute filter will retain 99.98% of 1 micron particles. And also, the benefit of having an absolute filter in your filtration is to protect your last step, your most important step, your final filter, your sterile graded membrane, which can remove microorganisms with a validated, safe, sterile graded efficiency from your process. And usually to ensure the sterility of those sterile water skids, those skids are usually steam sterilizable. So especially the last membrane step can be sterilized via steam. And also this last membrane step needs to be integrity tested regularly to ensure that it's still integer, that it's still doing what it is supposed to do, filtering out your microorganisms. So let's look at a real-life example here. We have here a P&ID of a sterile water filtration skid you can see on the screen, which is actually used in a chocolate-producing factory. And the purpose of this water treatment system is to treat inlet municipal water without further treatment, which is then further distributed to the chocolate-producing process. In this case, to mixing processes. So it is actually ingredient water in this case. And we have a multiple-step filtration we have talked about here. And in this case, we have 4 steps of filtration, so 4 filter housings. We start here with a coarse pre-filter, which is a 25 micron LifeTech GSLN element, a stainless steel element we will see later in our product portfolio as a first coarse pre-filter. Then we go down in the second step to a 5 micron nominal rated pleated depth filter, the PPN from Donaldson, with 5 microns. The third step is the absolute rated depth filter we talked about to protect our membrane and to ensure that there are no more particles in the water going to the membrane. So this one is a 1 micron absolute rated depth filter, the LifeTech PP100N from Donaldson. And finally, we have our sterile graded membrane, so the 0.2 LifeTech PESWN element. The whole skid here you see is fully automated with integrated CIP, integrated SIP, and backflush capabilities. Microbiological safety also is very critical as soon as water is the product itself. So especially for mineral water or drinking water, the regulations can be very strict for certain microorganisms such as E. coli bacteria or Cryptosporidium. And this microbiological safety needs also be tested regularly, like we mentioned before in the discussion with Peter, with regular microbiological water analysis in your lab. And also in drinking water industry, the treatment steps are very limited and regulated strictly. So especially if it gets to disinfection, depending on the country, depending on the water quality. So reducing this colloidal content is very limited. So microfiltration is actually key here because it is also not changing the mineral content of the water or any other attributes. So microfiltration is actually state of the art to preserve this microbiological safety of this natural product. And while Donaldson already has a vast majority of references in the drinking water market, we had to start somewhere. So our next application example we have here is actually placed here right in Hahn in Germany, where also our filter production is placed. And this one is called Hahner Felsenquelle. It's a German drinking water company, which is really focusing on maintaining those natural properties and purities of the water during their bottling process, and therefore they require the latest technology in filtration. The only pretreatment of this protected water source here is de-ironing and demanganization. So microfiltration is critical to really preserve this original microbiological stability of this product. And additionally, microfiltration complies here in Germany to all the mineral water regulations. So now we know most of the applications for microfiltration and something about water quality. So Scott will guide us through our product portfolio, which is actually needed.
Thank you, Dominic. In order to achieve your process and production demands, you will need equipment. Donaldson provides a series of filter housings and filter cartridges that will help meet your microfiltration needs. We have filter housings in both sanitary and non-sanitary design. They are modular and scalable from the lowest of flow rates to the highest of flow rates in hundreds of cubic meters per hour. Flexible inlet and outlet configurations to meet the basis of your design. And of course, all necessary pressure code standards, surface finish standards, and hygienic requirements are met regardless of the region that you are located. So, what motivated Donaldson to engineer the LifeTech liquid process filter products? Under production demands in today's manufacturing, better performance is required for sterile gas and liquid filters. Yet the technology had not appreciably changed in over 3 decades. Over a 2-year period, a team of 40 material scientists and engineers teamed up with major food and beverage companies to address this historic problem in microfiltration. The resulting collaboration brought significant improvements in throughput volume, integrity, and life cycle. From the very beginning, Donaldson sought to manufacture a solution that would be equal to the integrity of your finished goods and also meet the demands of your process. To achieve this benefit, it was decided to manufacture our liquid LifeTech process filters in our very own ISO Class 7 clean room. To give a further illustration of this, I'd like to point out to this particular picture. I don't know about you, but for me, I love seeing how things are made. And here we see a filter media pleater, also located in our ISO Class 7 clean room. We have also adopted a lean manufacturing process where we can be flexible to your filter element order demands, which should be of paramount interest, especially since supply chain issues have become a bigger concern. And before I go into explaining our filter element selection, I think our unique outer cage design should be looked at. When we were developing the liquid LifeTech filter element, all aspects of the product were examined, including the outer support polypropylene cage and the role that this cage plays in providing integrity. This diamond pattern or Rome structure provides enhanced torque stability, which is significant when installing long 30-inch or 40-inch elements. This structure also enhances bending and tensile strength. And lastly, the structure provides a 10% higher open surface for flow and better distribution. Our first 2 steps in the liquid LifeTech product line are our nominal and absolute rated filters. In the nominal section, we have 2 offerings. First, at 85% nominal efficiency, and the second is actually at 98% nominal efficiency. Donaldson LifeTech filter cartridges all have a polypropylene construction, provide a broad chemical compatibility, and also very low extractable levels in a wide range of fluids and applications. Our nominal filters range from 0.4 microns all the way to 50 microns. The next step is our absolute filters, or 99.98% particle retention efficiency. High efficient depth media is used here. And of course, it's all, again, 100% polypropylene. This media delivers superior flow rates and high throughput. Here, the micron rating ranges from 0.6 micron to 10. These filters serve as either the final filtration for stabilized product or the final pre-filter prior to the sterile membranes that we have already discussed. I would like to specifically point out that our LifeTech filter PP100CN is tested specifically for the retention of some waterborne pathogens, and that would be Cryptosporidium and Giardia. The last filter in our absolute rated LifeTech product offering is our LifeTech GSLN filter element. This is the element used in the previously reviewed Thatcher cider and chocolate applications. And again, this filter was used in the coarse pre-filtration steps. It is constructed of regenerable 100% stainless steel, available in a broad range of microns, from 1 micron to 250 microns. Last in the liquid LifeTech product offering is our absolute rated polyether sulfone membrane. Polyether sulfone is a high-performance thermoplastic that has a rigid, high-strength quality and can retain these qualities given its dimensional stability. First in this high-performance category is our PESWN, which yields 99.9999% retention at a critical 0.2 microns. This filter offers sterile grade performance for liquid filtrations of processed foods and beverages. Although we are mainly talking about critical water applications, I did not want to leave out our PES-BNA, also a 99.9999% retention value at 0.45 microns. And this is specific for final filtrations to achieve microbial stabilization of alcoholic beverages, such as beer, wine, and the ever-increasing popular hard seltzers. I trust that this demonstrates the completeness of the LifeTech liquid filtration product portfolio. Both of these filter elements are well suited for SIP protocols using steam. All filters are independently validated against the ASTM HIMA challenge test for microbiological or CFU retention. And before we dig into particle retention values and what all those nines mean, I want to give you a quick illustration of what a PES membrane looks like up close. Magnified 500 times, we see the inlet or open side of the membrane. Next, we see the outlet or the tight side of the membrane. And lastly, we see a cross-section of the actual membrane and the very unique pore structure and distribution that gives this high-performance material its unique asymmetrical design. This is all purposely manufactured so that it provides the utmost in protection for your process and products. Next, Dominic will review with us micron retention values. Dominic?
Thank you, Scott. So Now we have been talking a lot about retention values, sterile graded filters, nominal, absolute, membrane structures. So if we look at those retention values and those filter ratings, we also need to look at what kind of contaminations are those filters actually supposed to filter out. And you can see an overview over the size ranges of typical contaminations in our water here on this slide. And so far we learned that our pre-filters, the depth filters, are here to reduce the particles, the suspended solid content. So for example, fine sand, lint, that you can see here on the slide. And the sterile graded membrane filters, they are really concentrating on retaining those harmful bacteria. And you can see here that bacteria sizes also range from 0.2 micron up to 30 micron. So what kind of filter is now really a sterile graded liquid filter? It needs to be able to remove all of those bacteria from our process. So we need actually a filter that is able to remove also the smallest bacteria. So to define sterile liquid filters, there is a special microorganism that is called Brevonimunas diminuta. And this one is a very homogeneous microorganism, very round, and with a diameter of roughly 0.2 micron. So this is perfectly suited to now really define what is actually a sterile filter, because if it can hold back this one, it can actually hold back all of the bacteria. So per definition, a sterile filter is defined as a filter holding back every single Brevonimunas diminuta except for 1 out of 10 million that are attacking 1 square centimeter of filter surface. And if you calculate that to a retention rate, then you calculate it to 99.99999% of all bacteria are retained. And those 99.99999% are more commonly expressed in the so-called logarithmic reduction value, the LRV value. And if you calculate that to the LRV value, you get a value of 7. So to put this nominal, absolute, and sterile a little bit more into perspective, we have this overview here. So if you imagine you have a nominal rated filter, and they range in their rating from 90%, and our ppn is ranged at 98%. But still, they are letting still from 10 million contaminations, there are 1 million or thousands, 100,000s of contaminations still passing through that filter. If we upgrade to an absolute rated filter with a retention rate, for example, from 99.98 or 99.99%, there are only 1,000 of those contaminations really passing through that filter. And now if we upgrade to the sterile graded membrane, which is validated for bacterial reduction, out of 10 million bacteria, there is only 1 passing through this membrane. And that is usually not seen as very harmful. And that is what it's all about. We want to help you protect your product and your process for complete process integrity. So the filters are designed to be this kind of barrier to keep your process safe. And we realize there's a large variety of filter applications and also filtration products. So how can Donaldson support you here in choosing the right one, Scott?
Excellent segue, Dominic. Our biggest hope is that you have learned that Donaldson is here for you, the customer. We are here to help. We provide application support, optimized sizing, engineering support with process demands like sterilize in place. At the end of the day, we want to make sure you have a properly selected product. And before we get into our final remarks, we have one more poll question. So, Peter?
Great. Thank you for that, Scott. So, ladies and gentlemen, our final poll question of the day is, what is the most important aspect when choosing a filtration supplier? Is it state-of-the-art product technology, fast, reliable delivery times, technical know-how and application knowledge, or is it the aftermarket support and service support in this case? So, Scott, in this case, though, what would be your own opinion on choosing a filtration supplier? What are the things that one must consider?
I would think that being able to address the specific application needs is very important. So this points, for at least me, more towards state-of-the-art product technology. But in the recent year, we have seen the supply chain issues become actually probably more important. And so fast and reliable delivery times, I think, is also equally as important.
Great. So I'm taking that most of the time it will be more, for example, food manufacturers or even B2C businesses that really need to take this into consideration in terms of their product range and development, and water in this case.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Yep. Excellent point.
No problem. That's great. All right, let's see what the audience has said. So, according to the audience, 72.2% is from technical know-how and application knowledge. So, more people here are interested in this case, though, knowing how filtration actually works, and in this case, how it can be applied to their industry, let's say. So, I'll now pass over the final part of the webinar to you guys.
Thank you, Peter. I really like seeing that answer because it provided a nice segue into some of these final comments. And that's really speaking specifically to support and application know-how. And part of that is taking advantage of Donaldson's laboratory services. And this gives you a quick glimpse of the services. We can provide used filter analysis, particle analysis, including turbidity, and even filter element integrity testing and differential pressure measurement. I think that this would hopefully convey to all of the attendees the quality of the service that Donaldson can provide. And in conclusion, we want you to reach out to us. Stay connected, because in my opinion, we are a wealth of information, including our social media channels such as YouTube, where we have case studies available in 7 languages. Our LinkedIn site provides weekly updates in the area of contamination control. Now I'm going to pass it over to my colleague Dominic for closing remarks and our question and answer time.
Thank you, Scott. So before we finish our presentation, we just wanted to inform you that Donaldson also offers, additional to the liquid filtration part, a complete compressed air filtration portfolio. And this includes, for example, our new UltraFlux Smart absorption dryers, our general dryer systems, and compressed air filters. And I hope that during our presentation of today, you learned that Donaldson is the ideal partner to support you in your product and process integrity with our product availability, our advanced technology, and our unrivaled customer support. So, as Scott already mentioned, join us, follow us on YouTube, LinkedIn, and visit our webpage. And I think now we can go to our Q&A section.
Yes, thank you very much for that, Dominic. So just a quick reminder to the audience. To ask questions, you can type them into the box at the top right-hand corner of your screen and click submit. But in the meantime, we have some questions coming in through. So, Scott and Dominic, the first question is, do you only offer pleated filter cartridges in this case?
Scott, you want to take that, or?
I'm sorry. I had to jump off because I was having a sneezing attack. So I missed. I'm sorry, Peter. I missed your question.
No problem. I shall read it again. So the question reads: do you only offer pleated filter cartridges?
No. I apologize. No, we offer a broad range of filter elements, including melt-blown technology, filter bags, high-flow filter elements. So it's a very complete product portfolio. A lot of those other technologies that I just mentioned find their place in some of the upstream filter applications.
Mm-hmm. Sure, thank you for that, Scott. Dominic, do you have anything else to add on to that?
No, that's fine, but filter bags and melt-blown cartridges just belong to a complete portfolio, as do pleated cartridges. So in most applications, first, more simple design pre-filter is very recommended. Yeah.
No problem, that's fine. So, why do I need an absolute rated filter element?
I can take this one. We try to explain the difference between nominal and absolute rated filters. And it's not only in that absolute filters do usually have a higher retention rate, but they also have a defined retention rate. So if you order a nominal rated filter and it has a retention rate of 90% or something like that, then you may not be sure that it will have the same kind of retention rate the next time you will order it. So there are more tolerances in this retention rate because it is not defined. If you have an absolute rated filter, this one is really defined for the mentioned retention rate. So in our example for our PP100N, they are defined for the retention rate of 99.98%. So if I order that element again, I am sure that I will get the same quality of retention again. And this is mainly important if you need consistent quality results, or as we said already, also to protect the membrane step. We need the same quality, we need the safe retention rate. So a nominal filter would not be enough to protect the membrane.
Mm-hmm. Oh. Sure, that's fine. Scott, do you have anything else to add on to that as well?
No, I think Dominic did very well on that explanation.
Thanks, Scott.
All right. So, this question kind of taps back into when I was referring into the poll questions about quality checks of water. So, it reads, do you offer lab services and integrity testing?
Yes, we do. So we do offer, like Scott already mentioned also, all the liquid filter related lab services like integrity testing with bubble point, with diffusion tests, with forward flow tests. We also do offer filterability studies. So if you are looking into a new installation, for example, and you don't know what actually is needed to filter the water to your demands, we can do filterability studies on site with your water, with lab analysis and with on-site tests to really define how many pre-treatment steps do I need, how many filters do I need, and so on. So this is something we do on a regular basis. Yeah, and maybe something interesting to know also on this topic. Last year in Germany, we also opened new lab capacities. So we have new liquids labs, new steam labs, and new analytical labs with all the needed equipment for this kind of analysis.
Yes. Yeah. All right. Good. So, do you also offer double open end filter cartridges?
Oh, I'll take that one. Absolutely. We have many configurations, whether it's a single open end with a 2260 ring, or in this case, a double open end filter element exists not only in our LifeTech product portfolio, but will also exist in the other filter elements that round out our liquid filtration product offering. So, yes.
Nice. Okay. Dominic, do you have anything to add on to that as well?
Nope. Any filter combination on the market, you can usually find at Donaldson. Every connection.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks for that. So, another question reads, do you offer validation and guides for your membrane filters?
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
Scott, you can?
No, go ahead, Dominic. Sorry.
No problem. So I just wanted to say here that, yeah, we do mention providing a validation guide, especially for our membrane filters, completely with retention rate, with bacterial retention rate validations, and all the other validations that are usually included there. So quality certificates, certificates of compliance, of FDA compliance, chemical resistance certificates, just to name a few here. So yes, we do. Sorry, Scott, did you?
No, it's all right.
No problem.
I would also like to add that we offer about a 45-page sterilize in place or disinfection guide for our filter elements. And it's a very useful guide because it takes into consideration what is upstream and downstream of the filter elements.
Mm-hmm. Great. Okay. Well, one question there also puts into a scenario for one of their attendees. So one person says, we use water from a well and we currently either filtrate it with a gravel filter, 20 micrometers is filter, and we add chloride. We use our water to produce mayonnaise. What should be the quality parameters of our water?
Interesting one.
Yeah.
Scott, do you want to?
Yeah, a couple steps here. Downstream of the gravel filter, you would need some type of security or police filter to make sure that none of the sediment from the gravel migrates downstream. And if you're using chlorine to disinfect the water, after a certain amount of residence time, you may want to then pull the chlorine out by using activated carbon. And this can be done by using carbon cartridges or bulk carbon. This will be dictated based on your flow rates. Downstream of that, again, you're going to need some type of security or police filter to make sure that none of the carbon has migrated downstream. Depending upon your process of making the mayonnaise and your packaging techniques, meaning what security steps to protect food quality do you have in existence already? Without additional steps, you may want to then consider final membrane filtration to provide microbial stabilization of the water as it's being mixed in with your other ingredients. To come up with a conclusion, I think that we would want to consult with you either in person or if not virtually so that we can fully understand your application.
Mm-hmm. No problem. Thank you for that though, Scott. One person also asked, so what retention rates was the last step?
What's the last step? So I guess they mean the last membrane step, the sterile graded step. So this one has a retention rate for microorganisms of 99.9999%. So that's an LRV of 7. But the last step, as we hopefully also make clear today, is not necessarily always this kind of membrane. So the last step depends on the needs, on your process, and what kind of water quality you actually want to achieve. So, yeah.
Great. Okay, that's good. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you did not get your question answered, they can be answered at a later date. So that just leaves me to thank both Scott and Dominic for what a great presentation, and to Donaldson Filtration for sponsoring this event. Now, to all the registrants, though, you will actually receive an email shortly on how you can access the on-demand version, though. Or you can check it out on our website, which is www.business-review-webinars.com. So now we look forward to sharing future webinars with you. So do please keep an eye out on our website and follow us at BR Webinars on Twitter and join us on our LinkedIn community group. Once again, thank you very much for attending today's webinar, and I hope you all have a very great day. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, everybody.
Okay.